What happened to her, Rat said, was what happened to all of them. You come over clean and you get dirty, and then afterwards it's never the same. A question of degree. Some make it intact, some don't make it at all. For Marianne Bell, it seemed, Vietnam had the effect of a powerful drug. That mix of unnamed terror and unnamed pleasure that comes as the needle slips in and you know you're risking something. The endorphins start to flow, and the adrenaline, and you hold your breath and creep quietly through the moonlit nightscape. You become intimate with danger, you're in touch with the far side of yourself as though it's another hemisphere, and you want to string it out and go wherever the trio takes you, and be host to all the possibilities inside yourself. Not bad, she said. Vietnam made her glow in the dark. She wanted more. She wanted to penetrate deeper into the mystery of herself, and after a time, the wanting became needing, which turned then to craving. Hello, dear listeners. You just heard an excerpt from the accounts of Tim O'Brien during the Vietnam War. I'm here today to interview two Vietnam veterans about a particular experience in their tour in Vietnam, and their interactions with a girl named Marianne. Okay, boys, please introduce yourselves and tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves and what your job was in Vietnam.
I am Rachael and I was a medic during the war. I carried a canvas satchel filled with morphine, plasma, malaria tablets, surgical tape, and comic books.
My name is Mark Fossie, and I too was a medic during the war. I wrote a letter to my elementary school sweetheart, Marianne Bell, to come out to Vietnam, and she was carried out with a resupply shipment. It was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made.
So, Fossie, tell us about Marianne. Could you explain to our readers who she was and how you knew her?
My beautiful Marianne, dressed in a pink sweater and white culottes with eyes of blue and a heart of gold. Marianne Bell she was the love of my life. I fell in love with her the moment I met her. By the time we were in 6th grade, I knew she was the girl I was going to marry. We were going to live in a gingerbread house and have 3 perfect children and die in each other's arms when we were 107. She always had a sort of innocence about her, the kind of innocence that dressed up in a pink sweater and white culottes on her first day in Vietnam, the kind that refused to carry a gun while she was on an ambush. It's one of the things I loved about her.
And Rat, you were in the camp with Mark, correct?
Yes, I was in the camp with Fossie.
So, Rat, what was your first impression of Marianne? What was she like?
When I first saw Marianne, I was reminded of the girls back home. The girls back home were nice and innocent like Marianne. Marianne was a typical high school graduate who liked to play volleyball and was curious about new things she explored in Vietnam.
But she didn't stay that way?
Yes, she changed after coming to Vietnam. She joined the Green Berets, the Greenies, and started living in the forest with them. Speaking figuratively, it seemed like her eyes changed color from blue to green. The last time she was seen was when she was wearing a necklace of tongues.
Why don't we give the readers some background on the situation? Rat and Mark were working at a sort of medical camp near Tra Bong, west of Chu Lai, where casualties would be flown in to be stabilized and sent to a real hospital. What was working there like? What was life like at the camp?
I was a young medic during the war. I worked in a group of medics with Rachael before he was reassigned to Alpha Company.
I was in charge of the small medical clinic in the mountains near Tra Bong. Mostly I provided basic emergency and trauma care. It was mostly amputations of legs. The camp was situated at the top of a flat, crested hill near the northern outskirts of Tra Bong.
There wasn't a lot of military oversight in the medics' compound, and our so-called security was a mix of RFs, PFs, and the ARVN infantry.
So there were other groups there than just medics?
Yes, the Green Berets, also called the Greenies.
The Greenies had their own little hut on the edge of the perimeter, and they usually kept to themselves, just gliding in and out of the camp when they needed to. I always thought they were a little creepy.
How exactly did Marianne get over to Vietnam?
She flew over on a resupply shipment helicopter to Vietnam to meet Mark Fossie.
And Rat, you told Tim O'Brien about Marianne, and he said that you tend to use many hyperboles in your stories.
They all think I'm a big exaggerator, but I don't exaggerate. I tell the truth. I witnessed the scene when Marianne came over to Vietnam. Mitchell Sanders thought I was exaggerating.
So, when Marianne first got to Vietnam, she was kind of an embodiment of innocence, as I'm sure that's how most of you were before the war. but she changed or was changed by what she and so many young men went through. What was she like by the end of her time at the camp?
The imagery of Marianne that I remember was that she was sleep deprived and had dark smudges under her eyes. She started wearing a necklace of tongues around her neck.
Well, that's quite a good example of situational irony.
Well, it's a little more than she just woke up one morning and had dark smudges under her eyes and was wearing a necklace full of tongues. The change was gradual. Like most soldiers, Marianne got used to the war. She became less afraid of blood and casualties. Then she cut off all her hair. Then she learned how to shoot an M16. She was more distracted and serious. Every day, a part of the happy, bubbly girl I once knew was disappearing before my very eyes. I thought she was sleeping with someone else, and sometimes I find myself wishing that was the case instead of what she was actually doing.
And what ended up happening to her?
She was with the Greenies. I'll never forget the morning she came trotting in after she went out on an ambush with them. That was the morning before the night of our engagement, oddly enough. To this day, I can never remember how exactly I did it, how I proposed to her, because a few days later, as I was trying to make arrangements for Marianne to get back home, she disappeared, and so did 6 Greenies. They were gone for 3 weeks. When Marianne returned, the girl I saw was unrecognizable. I could have sworn that her beautiful blue eyes, that looked like the sky was trapped in them, had changed to a dangerous shade of green, like the green of the jungle. She didn't even stop to say hello. She just went straight into the Greenie hut. It was at midnight when I heard her singing and chanting, and that I entered the tent and saw her. My Marianne, my beautiful Marianne, dressed in a pink sweater and white culottes, with eyes of green and a necklace of human tongues. A while after that, she was reported missing, never to be seen again. But I know she's out there, slinking in the forest, stalking with her predatory green eyes and her pink sweater, white culottes, and necklace of human tongues.
Would you say that Marianne showed the effect the war had on many people? In other words, she fit the cliche that war changes people?
Yes, Marianne Bell was no different than any other soldier in any other infantry. Though she might have been a woman, she learned how to carry a gun, she learned how to carry the war. But even the greatest soldiers can't always carry the weight of the war. The war changes us all, but some soldiers, even the best soldiers, can change for the worse. Marianne was no different.
And do you agree with how Rat talked about her in his accounts of what happened? Did he stay true to what happened to her and so many other soldiers?
Well, if you want to be technical, it was really Tim O'Brien telling a story about Rat telling a story about Marianne. But yes, both men have a special knack for storytelling. Rat likes to spice things up, while Tim O'Brien uses a little more verisimilitude when he tells his stories.
Would you also say that the extended metaphor Rat uses of Vietnam being a drug that some become addicted to and changed by is accurate?
I shot my foot off and Marianne changed.
Well, dear listeners, there you have it. The truth behind the lines. See you next time on Stories from the Dark.